So right where you're sitting, it's best not to lay down unless you have some kind of medical issue where you really need to. And if you do, just be careful not to nod off, because our body can start to relax when we meditate. So however you're sitting, just nice and comfy, and you don't have to close your eyes. It's entirely up to you. Some people prefer, some people don't want to. And we're just going to start by noticing that when these words I'm speaking now have finished, in the absence of any noise, any words, there is a silence in the background. And when we listen, we can just listen to nothing at all. We can listen to that silence that is here in the space, at first noticeable, contrasting when these words stop. So just listening to the silence, just noticing it's there. Very, very simple thing. And it's important to understand that that silence is not going to feel amazing at first. It probably won't come with peace, love, and joy at first. We're just doing the most important thing here, bringing attention to that silence which is in the background of everything, but maybe has remained unnoticed till now. So we're just going to spend 20 minutes or so, and I'll guide us through it, just to notice the silence. And just changing one habit to another is all we're doing. Changing the habit of always listening to thoughts first, always listening to emotions first, always listening to our experience. And just redirecting attention gently to the silence when we get distracted again. There is something that's constant in the background of our experience. Just a silence, we're calling it today. And you can't see it, you can't touch it, it doesn't have any quality, but it's very definitely here. And as you're first learning to do this, sometimes striking a singing bowl or a gong or doing some kind of chant, and then in the absence of that sound, as the sound fades away, the silence becomes more obvious. We don't have to get rid of any sounds. All of that can just be as it is. If there's a sensation in the body, thoughts going, coming and going. If some emotion is moving in the body, some energy, some outer noise, and attention wanders to it, you can just redirect it to the silence when you notice. Just a very simple thing. We're listening to that silence, listening to nothing in particular. Listening really without any agenda, not trying to get anything. We're not trying to understand the silence either, just to experience it. And when we listen to the silence, you might notice our body begins to relax. But naturally our body responds differently if we're listening to silence. It begins to relax. Just a openness or a contentment. And that's not why we're listening. We're just listening because it is what is always here, what's reliable. Noise of thoughts comes and goes, but silence is always there in the background. And as we're listening to silence, quite naturally, attention is going to wander back to listening to thoughts. Doesn't mean we're doing it wrong. We can just notice those thoughts are there in the silence and bring attention back to silence. It's not the goal to keep attention 100% of the time on the silence. Just to bring it back when you notice it's wandered. There's a quiet rest when we listen to silence. Just this quietness in which nothing is really happening. It's a simple thing just to listen to the silence. Simple and yet very powerful. The more we listen to silence, the more the silence will become obvious. The more we listen to thoughts and experiences, the more they will become obvious. Just this very simple thing of listening to nothing in particular. Just allowing ourselves to enjoy how it feels to just be changing this habit around, to listen to the silence first, to notice the silence first. Whenever sounds arise in that silence, don't need to disturb us. They aren't getting in the way of our meditation. They're only noticeable because the silence is here. And they can serve as pointers back to the silence. And over a little bit of time each day, begin to recognize that the silence is always available to us. Even when our outer world is noisy, even when our mind is noisy. Just this simple thing. listening to the silence. And then when you notice you're listening to thoughts or to some emotion or sensation, just bring attention back to the silence. It's a very passive thing to do. We're not trying to change anything. Not trying to get rid of anything. Just noticing there is a silence already here, already available to us. And instead of trying to make our mind quiet, we're simply putting attention on that which is already quiet. This is when we begin to experience meditation in its most direct form. And just to listen to this silence. It'll be a little clearer each day that silence is always available. And then that silence is what we are, that it's constant, unchanging, not trying or reaching or becoming. And from time to time, as we've said, attention will wander to thoughts. We'll find ourselves listening to thoughts. And just bring it, listening back to the silence. We can't stop attention wandering, and we don't need to. Just to notice when it does. And when you notice, you just simply bring it back to listening to the silence. We're not fighting with anything. We're not trying to get rid of anything or change anything here. We're not trying to become anything either. Just noticing that which is already here, already stable, already unchanging, already quiet. Allowing the body and mind to enjoy how it feels to listen to the silence. Meditation is just this very simple thing. From time to time, just noticing if your attention has wandered to some phenomena, some sound, some noise, some movement, and bringing it back to the silence. Everybody's attention will wander, and it's perfectly okay. More and more as we choose the silence with our attention, the more obvious that silence will become. And we may begin to notice it, to listen to it spontaneously during the day, as it becomes clearer that it's always here. When we're listening to thoughts, the silence may seem far away or even absent. And when we're listening to silence, the thoughts may start to seem far away or even absent. Just to listen to the silence is enough to begin to change your whole life. It begins at first as an absence of sound, but then the silence will become something so much more. And again, from time to time, your attention is going to wander back to thoughts, back to nice feelings in the body, back to emotions. Just simply bring attention back to silence. The more we simply bring attention, we're listening to the silence, the better the body and the mind are going to feel, the more relaxed, the more open, light and spacious. Just falling in love with this silence. Every time we listen to silence, we can experience that silence even deeper. We didn't have to do anything in this meditation. We're just choosing what to listen to. There is this silence which feels like home, which feels like rest. It isn't asking anything of us at all. The more we listen to the silence, the more our body and mind become attuned to it. Just spending a few moments each day listening to this silence. Begin to find this deep place within us, which is already removed from the mind, which is already quiet. It's already peaceful. It doesn't need or want anything. So in a few moments we will be bringing this formal meditation to a close. But hopefully you can see that we can be listening to the silence, whether our eyes are open or closed, whether our body is moving or seated, whether we're talking, walking. Just a simple choice to listen to that stillness, that silence itself. Kind of begins to bring it to the foreground of our experience. It becomes more and more obvious. So whenever you're ready, if you want to, you can open your eyes if they were closed. And if you don't want to, that's okay. All we're doing in meditation is just beginning to see that there is something constant here all the time, not really perceivable with our senses, not really accessible in the traditional way. Once we know how to find it, everything begins to change then. The truth that we're reading about in books and hearing about in satsangs begins to become a real lived thing inside us. It begins to be experienced as our truth. And most importantly, it gets harder and harder to doubt, although mind will try, that it's not going to happen for us. Because we're experiencing it right now. And just a simple thing of recognizing, listening to silence is going to allow us to access it more and more frequently, more often, much more easily. Just a skill we're learning, a new habit. And that it's possible for a human being to be effortlessly aware of the silence all the time, just by changing this one habit. And we didn't do it through a lot of hard work. We just noticed when attention had wandered, and then we brought it back to the silence. That simple thing, done consistently, a little bit each day, is going to begin to shift everything in your life. And whatever thoughts and emotions need to be released, whatever tensions in the body, all of that is going to happen much easier from this recognition, from this silent place inside. Much more easy to do that.